today, and I'm excited and a little bit nervous to do this because I'm going to speak more forthrightly and more boldly than I probably ever had. I am in my 11th year of online marketing and internet presentations, and I honestly feel like all of that was just a run-up in preparation for what I want to do today. So I really appreciate your presence, and take what I say with a grain of salt. Use what works and toss out the rest. I am no authority. I'm simply here to share what I see as the writing on the wall of where we are in our culture, in our lives. So let me give you a little bit of background about, in case you don't know, or sort of it's been a while since you've heard my CV, so to speak. Admit all. Okay. Back in the late 90s, I was involved in the high-tech startup world, where, remember the days of Netscape and AOL and dial-up and that whole new thing called .coms that were coming into the fore? I was on the cusp of that, and it was the most exciting, high-flying time I can remember, because it was the wild, wild west in the internet world, in our world. It was exhilarating, and we got in and we got out right before the crash. And when I say we got in and got out, what I mean is that we raised a few $1 million to get a .com off the ground, that we had an eye to what was happening in the industry and in the world. We were revolutionizing the art world. We were revolutionizing the way people engaged with art and creativity. And we raised a few $1 million, launched this .com, and sold it right before the crash, because we just saw the writing on the wall. Fast forward a few more years, and I get into the coaching business. I don't need to tell you why or how, just got into the coaching business about 20 plus years ago. Back then, when you told people you were a coach, they would ask you what sport you were coaching. And now it is a $15 billion industry, and it is the second fastest growing industry behind tech. It grows at about almost 7% per year. So somehow I sort of got into that wave, and I've been doing it ever since. So that was over 20 years ago, I got into the coaching field. And then fast forward, not that much after that, about 10 years ago, looking around, having been a coach, kind of trying to figure out, how do coaches actually survive, make a living, make a go of this thing that they want to do in their hearts, and started to see internet marketing coming down the highway. Now, most of us maybe don't even remember that, because we're so used to the spam and the inbox and the launching and the shouting and the glut. But let me tell you, 10 years ago, it was the wild, wild west again, and it was so much fun. We were doing things like instant teleseminar. There was no Zoom. There was no, whatever those other ones are that we used to use. It was just all through the phone lines and all connecting that way. And it was incredible. And so that's where you can see where we are now. So I'm no Einstein and I'm no futurist, but I catch a whiff and I see what's happening. And I've always been this way, for better or for worse. Sometimes I wish I wasn't, because if I could just follow the freaking rules, and if I could just stay this freaking course for a little longer, my life might have shifted in different ways. But I am who I am. I is who I is, as Dr. Seuss would say. And so here we are. And so it feels to me like this is such a potent inflection point in our lives, because we're not just talking about one vertical. We're not just talking about, oh, the internet is coming, or, oh, coaching is coming. We're talking about the tectonic shifts in our lives in every vertical, so to speak, in every category. And while I'm not here to scare you, I want to prepare you as best as we can, because it feels like we're in this vaccination haze, or this little bounce, and people are sort of putting their guard down. And I'm not here to say, take up arms. I'm here to say, don't let your guard down, because the good stuff's coming. Like, that was just chapter one. We're in for a lot more fun. We're in for a lot more shifts. And let's put you at the forefront, because if you're here, you're a leader in your own life, and maybe in your industry and in your communities. So let's arm you, prepare you, support you with what you need to get ahead of the curve. So just to remind you, not that you need to be reminded of what's happening right now. Thank you, Kathy. Of what's happening right now is, well, we went through that little thing called COVID. Nobody saw that one coming, although some people did. I didn't see it. I was told about it, but when somebody told me that my kids were going to be sent home from college, I was like, what? Because I wasn't paying attention. And sure enough, that person was right. So we had COVID. Then we had the election turmoil. So our healthcare has been upended. Our elections have been upended, and I don't care who you voted for. It's been upended, and the entire structure of our political system is going to go through a major shift. Whether you are into Trumpism or anti-Trumpism, I don't really care here in the US. What I care about is watching what's not working and watching what's happening and keeping an eye to what wants to happen. Because what you see right now, whether it's politics or healthcare or education, is a result of old thinking and old leadership. And if that's what you're focusing on, you're going to be left behind, because the innovation doesn't happen in the newspapers necessarily or on the playing field that we're used to. It happens behind the scenes with the rumblings and the weeds that are bursting through that cement. That's where it's happening. That's where you want to be looking. And hello, did anybody notice this week? Oh my goodness, or last week? I lose track of time. The Colonial Pipeline got hijacked and ransomed for $5 million by some cyber terrorists. Wow, I have goosebumps. Like, wow. Okay, so our gas prices are going to go up. That's the least of our worries. Our entire infrastructure is trembling and shaking out and moving. And again, not to scare you, but to prepare you that the rumblings are just starting. And when you have an early adopter mindset, you find that exciting, because you know, like I do, that whatever vertical we're talking about, whether it's schooling or the financial system or the healthcare system or how businesses run, you know, like I do, that it's been a long time coming, these changes. Hallelujah, praise whatever Lord you pray to, that this is the time. Hallelujah, that we're alive right now and doing what we're doing. Because again, you can be leaders, or at least you can not be followers, and you can stay ahead of the curve. There's tidal waves coming. There's another COVID thing coming. I don't mean in the healthcare industry, who knows? And let's have your eyes open wide. And play, because those of us who are so tired of the straitjacket of the way life has been and the way we've been taught to behave and operate, we're like, hallelujah, take it off. We can be free and reinvent and create what's right for us and the people we love and care about. Sort of, we finally get to right the world. Now, that being said, I'm not bashing all the systems we've created. They've been fantastic. The industrial era was fantastic. The technological revolution has been fantastic. Healthcare, the way the innovations have been incredible. I'm not bashing anything. What I'm here to say is every single category, in my estimation and our estimation, is now anachronistic. It is outdated. So you're either looking to the future of what's coming down, or you're hanging on to something old. And we know you don't want to get splat. So I'm going to throw up a couple slides just to make, because I have a visual background, and just to make my point and set the stage for what we're going to talk about next. So give me a minute while I share the screen. You got a choice, right? You can follow the herd, and you know where that leads. You can be the barge in the middle of the Suez Canal, which, holy moly, what was that? And isn't that a great analogy for, like, are you going to be the tanker that's thousands of tons in and stuck where they have little tiny bulldozers trying to dislodge you? Or are you going to be somebody who's stuck behind the tanker, waiting for someone to dig it out? Or are you going to be on the other side? And of course, that other side is what it's called the diffusion of innovation is all about. The other side is living in that early adopter phase. There's that chasm, as you can see, where there's those of us whose nose and GPS is in one focus on one thing. We don't have all the answers, but we know something's shifting. And then there's the majority laggards behind. So where do you want to live? I think you want to be right here where you are today, sitting. And I'm going to talk about how to navigate, because there is no instruction manual. When you're living in that chasm, or right, there's no instruction manual, there's no experts, there's nobody you can really trust. And it is the wild, wild west. So what we do, as most of you know, is we bond us all together in small little tribes and small little communities, so that we are sort of locked in arms, not alone. Because as you know, if you're the sheep who leaves the herd, you get killed. So we firmly believe in bonding together, so that a rising tide lifts all boats. So as you succeed, we all succeed. And those of us who were incarnated here to be leaders are pushed to the front and leading. Right, so that's my little slideshow there. Let me stop that. Okay. So changes that we see, and I put the bold ass title, like, Linda, where do you come up with this stuff? I mean, honestly, I was supposed to do something completely different this week, completely different. My little strategy brain, my little business brain had this happening and that happening and this happening. And last week I was like, no, that's not happening, because that doesn't feel right. I don't know what's happening instead. So on Monday, I'm like, oh, this is happening. So what did I call this? The the money, love, and sex revolution, with R in parentheses, and how to surf the tidal waves barreling towards you. So I want to pick apart a little bit of the changes that we see coming down the pike, and how we are shucking and jiving with it, so that you can decide for yourself how you want to shuck and jive with what's coming down the pike. The one that I play in the most is money and business, obviously, which I think most of you do as well. Most of my tribe here is some sort of business entrepreneurial spirit. And the biggest shift we've seen, and this is really across the board, not just in money and business, is stop relying on experts to tell you what to do. In money, in business, stop relying on, don't even take what I say that I'm doing and make it yours. Stop relying on people telling you what to do. You know, this is the age of where's the truth. It's like, where's Waldo? Where's the truth? I don't know. I mean, 6 months ago, or 8 months ago with the elections, was like, I would have to spend 45 minutes like calling from all the news sources, because I didn't know what the truth was. And you don't either. And that's okay, because you have the truth inside of you. And you've been told this as spiritual followers and leaders forever. But now is the time to actually put the pedal to the metal, put your money where your mouth is, and live your design, and live your inner truth, and live your GPS according to you, not any expert. No gurus, no experts. Now, that being said, there's what we call hierarchies of competence. So hierarchy is a mouthful, and that just means there's an authoritarian, somebody in charge, you follow, you shut up, you do what you're told to do. By the way, an aside, I'm not proposing conspiracy theories. I'm not proposing following the herd. I'm not proposing anything. I'm here to invite you for you to make your own decisions. Vaccination, anti-vaccination. I don't care what you choose. I want you to choose. Send your kids to school. Don't send your kids. I don't care. I want you to choose. Put your money in the financial institutions or put it in crypto. I don't care. I just want you to choose. And I don't want you to abdicate your power any longer into anybody else. Steve Jobs once said, follow your heart, check in with your head. So it's been an era of head, 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 head. It's time to get more heart, more deep wisdom, more body wisdom coming forth. Check in with your head, make sure you're not doing something stupid. So just want a little aside, because I've had people email me saying, are you into conspiracy theories? I'm like, I'm not into any theories. I'm into what feels right for me. So that being said, hierarchies, where there are some people who know more about a certain topic than I do or you do. So hierarchies of competence. It's such a mouthful. What does that mean? It just means sometimes you're going to know more than I know in a certain area, and I'm going to know more than you know in a certain area, and we're going to collaborate and change and cross-pollinate, because that's the way communities thrive. It's not when there's an authority that says this is the way all the sheep must march. It's no, there's a cross-pollination. And the beauty And this is actually in my design, which is why I'm doing this. The beauty of what's happening is that communities, whether it's business, social, families, are shifting how they operate. It is no longer just top down. And you can see some of the most innovative companies, Zappos and some others, who have actually instituted these new ways of working with communities or with organizations. But there's a new way, new sheriff in town of how to organize communities and how to collaborate, where it is a hierarchy of competences, where you are celebrated for your brilliance and your gifts, and you are working in tandem with somebody else who has complementary skills. That sounds obvious, but that's not how the world is working right now. That's not how it works right now, except in small pockets. Like we have something called the Starlings Village, which I'm not going to get into today, but we have small pockets of people and organizations who are playing with the new way for communities to live and work. So what does that mean? What that means, like right down to say business, it means that the old traditional models of formulas and ways of doing marketing and all of that stuff are up for negotiation. We don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but we want to get savvy about which pieces are still useful and which are really old and not helpful at all. And you will have to decide. So in our business, what we're doing, just to give you a little example, is I no longer, like I said, sometimes I wish I wasn't me. I no longer have one size fits all pricing because it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. If somebody comes into our tribe and they are just as in need of our services as somebody else, and somebody has a lot of money and somebody doesn't have a lot of money, well, what am I supposed to do there? So we have what we call differentiated pricing, where I work with people to find their perfect sweet spot price. Why do I do that? Because my investment is in each soul who has shown up in my tribe. And I want everybody to have an equal footing and equal playing field so that everybody is at the same stretch point when they enter in through our programs. I'm going to tell you, it is not a leveraged model. It is not an automated business model. It goes against all the training I had over those first 5 years of my business. And I don't care because it's right for me and it works. And you ask anybody who's been through our system in the last couple of years, it really works. It works beautifully. I was thinking today in preparation for this, I can honestly say that in 10 years of business, I can count on one hand dissatisfied clients because I have always tried to keep my business in line with who I am and what I care about. And I know you do too. But so that's just one example of what do you do with money and pricing in business? That's what we're doing. What are you going to do? How are you going to shift it? I'll share with you some other examples I'm familiar with as we research and take a look at who's actually busting out and doing something new and interesting that actually serves the population in this hierarchical, synarchical way. Those are the fancy words of how how communities will be organized moving forward versus rulers and followers. Some are doing donation only. And when I say donation only, that's not the old charity mindset, because that doesn't really work. It's more people guiding people to really feel into how much they can donate or give, which is similar to my differentiated pricing model, but this is more automatic. So you might see people who have, if you can pay this amount, pay this amount. If you make this amount of money over a certain year, pay this amount. So it's guided donation model. And what's amazing when you follow these people who are being innovative this way is individuals actually rise to where they feel is their sweet spot. People don't try and get away for cheap. What we're doing is inviting people, or those are inviting people to get thoughtful about what does this mean to me and how much value am I going to place on it and what do I want to contribute. So in the old thinking, which is I'm the expert and this is a $5,000-$10,000 program, it doesn't give any room for collaboration. But in pricing models or business models, when you open it up and you say, you know what, I don't actually have all the answers. I want to collaborate with you. And here's one way to do it. So that whole, it's called freely given versus donation. I think that's a better term than donation, which is sort of tarnished from our charity mindset. That being said, I think you all know this. an important component of business that I don't think businesses will thrive unless they have this piece, and I'm stating the obvious here, is a give back component. So in our company, a percentage of any revenue that comes in goes to not a charity, but a cause that we're connected with, that just brings lightens our hearts to know that we in the West, who are very privileged, can help causes that we care about. And my groups vote on where they want to send the money. So are you getting the sense how heart is coming back into business and heart is coming back into money? I honestly believe that the whole financial system is going to crash. That's just my personal belief. I don't know what that means. Does it mean we hide money in the mattress? Does it mean we take all our money out and put it into crypto? I don't know. But what it means is I want to start getting creative about how resource is given and exchanged. And I can't believe that here I am 11 years into this business, and I was warned 11 years ago, don't ever barter. Don't ever barter. You have to, like, and I used to teach this, you really need to put a value on your, price on your value and get that. And I do believe that, because we still need money to keep things moving smoothly. And oh my goodness, some of the most amazing, I don't even want to say trade or barters, but collaborations that I've had with either clients or partners have been so much fun and so successful. So there are all kinds of ways to do what you do and be rewarded and give back. So let's see if I'm forgetting anything here. So that's just the one piece about business, pricing, structure, collaboration, things like that. And it comes down to, are you going to be in charge of your business and your money, or is someone else? Are you going to call the shots and have sovereignty, complete sovereignty? Or are you going to let the old anachronistic systems that we've been so indoctrinated by run your life? No, no longer. I'm going to touch on the two other categories just very briefly, and then I'm going to offer like what to do about this. I gave an example of what we're doing, but I want to really drive it home so that my goal is, when we're done here in about 20 minutes, you are thoughtful, you are committed, and you're going to make some bold ass choices, because it's time. Like, it's really time. I want to mention that about relationships. So money, love, and sex, I think is what I said, right? I think that things are starting to distill out. The cream is rising to the top. Those who are fighting to keep all the structures in place, whether it's the educational system, the financial system, business, politics, have fun fighting to keep the old, but that's a pointless exercise. And I'm going to boldly state that there will be some relationships in your life that will not stand this shift, and just get okay with that. Because whether you want to call it vibrationally, spiritually, energetically, it's not that there are those who are with us and those who are against us. I don't believe in that at all. But there are some of us who are shifting into this new lane, high frequency zone lane, whatever you want to call it, simple, fun, easy lane, whatever you want to call it. I've done things on that before. And there are those who just either don't see it, don't want to see it, need the comfort of the familiar. And I keep hearing from people that this really rubs sometimes in relationships. So I invite you to not be attached to anything looking a certain way. I know that is an absurd spiritual request. I know that the spiritual tenet of set your intentions and release attachment is like the hardest thing to do in the planet, but you really want to get comfortable with uncertainty, and you really want to get comfortable with discomfort, because it's coming, it's been here. So the more you can just flow and stay in a high vibe state yourself, the more you'll be guided with what to do next, whether it's in relationship or money or business or anything. And it's hard for me to say that about relationships because for obvious reasons, but I get asked it a lot, and I'm just going to be honest. And I have, over the last 5 years, I've been on this journey, like the journey I'm going to suggest you go on in a minute, for a solid 5-6 years. And I've had to release. So much of what we do in our tribe is helping you release, whether it's your beliefs, your patterns, the people who are no longer good for you, the job that you're stuck in, because we got to clear the decks, because what lies ahead is magnificent. It's beyond your imagination, but we've got to get you there. And so this is one of the first steps. So just know that your relationships may shift. And even things like, the whole gender identity thing that's going on with the kids these days. And in my generation, it's so easy to look and go, huh? Or to judge or think it's crazy, or how can they? And I understand that. And that's just a sign about how much it's shifting. Depending on how woo you want to get, and I go way woo and I stay way in the 3D world. I'm like a blend of both, which I think which is why I have a sort of a special niche there. But the way woo people talk about the new embodied human and how we are cellularly changing. Our structure of our DNA is shifting. Is it true? I don't know. All I know is that the more open I stay, the better my life gets, the better I feel, the more of all those things we say we want seem to flow more easily. So it doesn't matter what theory you believe in. What matters is where are you led and what's feeding you and what feels right for you. And so, okay, so let's get specific about what to do, since I've talked about generalities. Here's my prescription. If I was going to be an expert and tell you what to do, which is pretty funny, it's basically number one, two very simple things. Know thyself. You've been hearing this for decades. Know thyself. Because right now, when it's the wild, wild west and everything that you did know is kind of falling apart and nobody really knows what's coming, the one thing you can know is who you are. And when I say that, it's very, like, all of you are at such a high level. You're ready for the next subtle layer of this. I'm not talking about your personality or your role in the world. You got that handled. I'm talking about busting that open. And for us, it's knowing your human design or your gene keys, because that is an inner GPS for you. If you go inward and study what your energetic blueprint is, that's your guide. That's your hidden code. You must know that moving forward. When we came out with this 5-6 years ago, people were like, that's weird. What's that? And now it's on every street corner. So step number one, if you don't know that about yourself, get to work. Okay. No excuse, because that's your inner authority, is your divine design. I don't know what the right steps are for you, but if I know your design, I can coach you according to your design. So you need to know what your design is so that you're following your own divine path. So that when the authorities tell you that something's good for you and your system's going, no, it's not, or some authorities telling you go down this trajectory, this is where everybody's going, you're like, okay, that feels good. You know, you are the ultimate authority. So that's a biggie. And I'm not going to say much more about it, because we teach whole courses on that piece. But I hereby give you permission to be your own expert, okay? Be your own expert. But when you do that, this is the subtle part. You've got to peel away all that junk that has been fed into you. Some of you are really open in your design, so it's just like you're absorbing so much from the world. You might not even know what's yours and what's somebody else's. But even if you're not as open, I have a very sort of closed, defined design, for those of you who know what that means. Even for me, the indoctrination of decades of this is how you live, and this is what you do, and this is what you believe, and these are the rules. And it's like, okay. No, time to strip that stuff away. And the best way to strip it away is to get sneaky ninja about thinking about what you're thinking about, assessing everything that you choose, and getting to know your design. And so that leads to the second suggestion. Question everything, not in a conspiracy way, in a litmus test way. Does this feel good to me? So this is the era of, is this aligned with who I am and what I'm here to do in the world? This is the era of thank you, mind and head, for all of the brilliant work you have done my whole life and in our culture's whole existence, because the mind has been fantastic at inventing things and crafting things and figuring things out. And right now, the mind is, again, anachronistic. It is not the first, it is not the expert. You have a body wisdom that is locked inside. I talked about this a little bit before, whether you want to call it your hidden DNA that's shifting, whether you want to call it sort of your emotional intuitive body that's coming to, is being more birthed in the world, whatever you want to call it, it needs a seat at the table, because because your mind has been like at the head of the table, and you at least need to give this inner wisdom a seat at the table, if not equal measure. I quoted Steve Jobs before, follow your heart and check in with your head. We know how well he did with that, right? So I'm inviting you to do this too. So the first thing you do, so the first way to do that is to question everything, not with your head, but with your inner GPS, with your inner knowing, with your wisdom. Now, everything I'm telling you sounds easy, and it's not. It's not. You've heard it before. It's not easy. And one of the reasons what I just said is not easy is because most of us have very little connection to our bodies. And if we want to live a soul-centered, wisdom-based existence and make choices for our own lives in sovereignty and dominion, we have to know what we feel. And we've been a culture who's been cut off from our bodies. Don't know about you. I was told feelings are second-class citizens. Don't be emotional, blah, blah, blah. And we need to rewrite that script. And now I'm not saying you want to live in emotional drama. Again, that's a very subtle difference. You have to have tools to manage emotional dramas that get you off course. I'm talking about that deep, deep inner knowing and feeling, whether it's gut, intuition, instinct. But if you can't feel your body, you're going to go in your head. And even if you can feel your body, you're still going to go in your head. So discipline, watchfulness, and choice is required to live this next chapter, which absolutely can be your best chapter. No question in my mind that those of us who are tuned in, tapped on, can absolutely create your best next chapter. And you went, like I said, you want to get uncomfortable with uncertainty, because nobody knows really how it's all going to shake out. But when you've got that alignment and that grounding and that anchoredness, you can't touch this. You just can't touch, like you have, I don't want to say armor, but you have a strength that nothing is going to take you down for long. Might take you down a little bit, not for long. Okay. Wow, that's 33 minutes of talking a blue streak. If you have any questions, pop them into the chat. And let me just take a pause here. And I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, I'll take a pause. Let me just check my notes, because that was a lot that I wanted to say. Not wanting to scare you, just wanting to prepare you. We've seen from 2020 and even like this week with Energy Pipeline that things are in disruption. Disruption doesn't have to mean chaos. It doesn't have to mean fear. It can mean that you are just getting ahead in your own life. I'm just reviewing what we went over here. Money, love, and sex. In money, get creative. Don't rely on expert formulas. Know that you have your own expertise within. Sometimes the irony is you might need a teacher to teach you how to access your own inner guidance, which sounds ironic. But as we always say in our tribe, our job is to work ourselves out of a job, so that you are so self-sovereign and you are so, you have so much dominion over your own life that you don't need teachers and guides. You've got your own inner one inside. Be open to relationships shifting and changing. I'm sorry to say that it feels very painful. It has been painful in my life. And that's, you are called as leaders to guide and lead others. And so you will attract the right people in your life when you get rid of the wrong people. I hate to say that. And don't judge anything. When you waste your time, your life force energy, judging and critiquing anything, why are you doing that? Why? It doesn't get you anywhere. And then the advice was, know thyself, know your own design, know your own inner GPS, and question everything. And not slash and burn, but make, what is the phrase? Make haste. Don't waste time getting into the right lane, because the right lane, when you're on it, it's that high frequency zone of things are simple and fun and easy. And you're no longer hung up on what you should or shouldn't do and how the world is supposed to be and how it's messed up and blah. You have bigger things to do. So let's see. Thank you, Kathy. How do you deal with those who continue to beat you down if you don't stay true to the old ways? So I love the phrase that one of my associate coaches came up with, which is the best defense is a strong offense, which doesn't mean you're in people's faces. It doesn't mean that you're fighting against anything. The best defense is a strong offense, which means, Kathy, you're so okay with your path that you're not giving that any more energy. And you know that what you focus on increases. And as you think, so shall you be. So when you focus on the friction that's in the house, you're going to get more friction. When you focus on, I'm going to stay aligned and I'm going to walk forward in love, things will start to shift and fall away. So if you're finding yourself in those cantankerous or difficult situations, it's within your power to shift how you show up so that it can then shift. That's the beautiful thing about spiritual practice is, when you shift, it shifts. Doesn't mean people will change. I'm not saying all of a sudden, whoever that person is going to see the light. No, but when you change, that will minimize and you'll open up, because we all have not a finite amount of energy, but everything is energy. So wherever you're apportioning your energy, and if you're letting someone drag you down, that's your choice. And so you want to shift how you're being around that. Thank you for that great question, Kathy. Okay. Any other questions? Just pop them in the chat. So I'm actually going to pop the slides back on, and I'm going to make an invitation, which I haven't done in years for certain reasons. So where do you want to be? You want to be in this camp that we've talked about for the last 40 minutes? Or do you want to be sort of wait and see? This is not the wait and see era, people. Don't wait and see. If you wait and see, the next COVID wave is going to take you down, but even more dramatically. And so here's what's challenging for someone like me. All of you want to be over there where the arrow's pointing, right? That's where you want to be. And you're human. And you probably haven't been studying this and practicing this for the last 10 plus years as I have been. And I'm talking about not spiritual practice. I'm talking about learning who you are, choosing your path, saying no thank you to things that don't work, and charting your course. That's what I'm talking about. And being ninja-like at anything that wants to pull you back over to the right side of this graph. I'm sorry, it's blurry, just is what it is. So I know where you want to be. And I know that when you hang up, you're more likely to go back to where you were, because it's the nature of human beings. If we don't bond together, if you don't have the right support and the right vibration around you, as Kathy just put in the chat, what do you do with the people who are causing trouble? The best defense is a strong offense. So for those of you who feel ready to make a bold choice, whatever category that is in your life, maybe it's your business that you're just is off and you don't know what to do, or maybe it's this relationship and it's really a thorn in your side and you don't know what to do, and you're ready to make some bold choices, then let's have a conversation. I have not opened my calendar up for people to talk to me for free in years, but that is how passionate I am right now about those of you who showed up, that if you need more support about, Linda, what do? I feel it. I agree with what you're saying. I'm just at a crossroads. Tell me sort of which direction to go in. I'm not going to be your expert. I'm going to help you figure out what needs to happen next. And I'll be honest with you. I think every single one of you needs to move in closer into our tribe. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm looking for people who are ready to be part of this movement, this revolution, evolution in the money, love, and sex categories, to be the leaders in your own lives and in the world. So let me get there we go. God help me. There's, oh wait, that's to everyone in the waiting room. Hold on. How do I get it to everybody else? Can you guys see that? No, hold on. Everyone in the meeting. There we go. Okay. So if you feel inspired to take action, and I'm not talking about give me your money, open up your wallet. That might be the case. I'm talking about to take action to move the dial on your life so that we can be part of this evolution, revolution in the categories that really matter to us. Then let's talk. If you are an alumna who has worked with me before and worked with us before, we have a special spot for you. So we have an alumni circle of those who have been soldiers for over the years, and we want to really play with you in a new way. So if you're in that category, definitely lean in. If you hit that time trade link, you're going to see, I'm going to ask you some straight up questions because I don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste mine, to be honest. I take my kids away at the end of next week for 8 days at the beach, and I'd like to just have some really powerful, potent conversations before then, and then go away with my kids. So, so if you're called to, I'm going to repeat it, to know yourself, and you might need help knowing that, and to question everything and to make some bold decisions, then I'm here to support you in doing that. Okay. Thank you, Hemant. You're ready. You have some mind blocks. You want to clear them. Great. Great. It's great news. Most of you are self-aware where you're blocked. So that's a good place to start. I don't really work with newbies. So, okay. We have 4 minutes left. So if anybody wants to unmute and say or ask anything, I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, we can just bless and release our time together. It's really been beautiful to work with you. I can feel the energy in this room.
I just want to say I love you.
Oh, honey. From one soul sister to another. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We need to just talk. All right. It looks like everybody's good. So let's just take a collective breath, shall we? Because your soul and my soul just connected on a really, for me, beautiful way. And I so appreciate that. So everybody just close your eyes and take a deep breath, feet on the floor if you can, and breathe in a nice deep breath. And I want you to suspend it, because in the suspension is where you get in between. It's the gap in between existence. It's where your creativity and your source connection lie. So suspend it and release, and suspend it on the out breath. And you can open your eyes and just take a nice deep breath. And I just want to say namaste, sisters and brother. You are just so freaking gorgeous. Thank you. Keep me posted of your journey, and I'll talk to whoever is right to talk to next week. All right. Ciao for now. Mwah.
You are amazing, my friend.
Oh, sweetie, aren't you kind?
I have missed you.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me stop the recording.